That was worth resurrecting, I thought.
That's a gorgeous song. That when we started having this mad idea of doing songs together, it felt like cheating. That's the only word we could use to describe it, because we were both married at the time. Bakers and the Flowers, and we used to have a band called Something Happens. And it was just odd, because we'd never really been with the other people, as it were. So I was going out to his shed, safest place we could find. And he was showing me these songs, I thought they were brilliant, I didn't want to tell him. And I was also, I was learning to play guitar, because it was still kind of close to COVID, I didn't want him to know, so I'd be watching what he was playing like a hawk, and pretending for some reason my hands were sore or whatever. I'll do it later, don't worry about it. I'd lash home and practice for 8 hours, and the next day we'd have it.
He learned how to play the guitar in like a couple of months, and they came out with no bother to him. He's now back in traditional tunes, as you will see later on.
That's another thing, I wasn't prepared for the traditional world, which he was going to foist upon me. I didn't know the crack them lads are having. I always say when punk arrived, it was like, for me, it was like a clarion call. I had to get on this punk rock bus immediately. That's all there was to it. It was useful in some ways that you could dismiss entire genres that you hadn't listened to. The Eagles, goodbye. Which I don't think was the worst decision I ever made either. But also some of them were actually turned out to be quite brilliant genres. But after a while, you were on the punk rock bus. But we got our first album together. This band called The Replacements. Have you heard of The Replacements?
Yeah.
They had this album called Tim, which has just been reissued at the moment, and I think it's one of the great lost albums. So, because we loved it so much, a man called Tommy Ramone came to Dublin to produce our first album. And we'd been trying to get into the #1 nightclub in Dublin at the time, which is called the Pink Elephant. They wouldn't let us in. And we arrived one night with Tommy Ramone. And we said, "No, we feckin' have you lads." He'd say, "He's Tommy Ramone." And they said, "Yeah, sure he is." And I have to drive Tommy home. So anyway, this is one of the songs from Adam.
And we hit the beach, on a beach where hits became a line of crimson, alone on a beach with Jesus. Instead of you, what I do now, instead of you, instead of you, what I do now, instead of you. And we moved out slowly, and does her light still shine? Has she forgotten? And does it matter anyway? Instead of you, what I do now, instead of you, instead of you, what I do now, instead of you. Well, yes, I love you, now go home. Well, yeah, we love you, now go home. Well, across an ocean, or was I just pretending to join a line of crimson, alone on a beach with Jesus? Instead of you, what I do now, instead of you, yeah, instead